Okay, looks like we are live, so give me a second. Hello, everybody, if you can see me. Give us a second here to get set up. Yeah, I see us. Okay, let me see if I can change the mode here. So start talking and see if it changes automatically.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, okay, let's do this. Let me change you the other way. How can I move you into the bigger picture? Because I would rather you be in the bigger picture.
Oh, that's okay. We can keep it small. Oh, there you found it.
Let's do this then. All right. Cool. Picture. All right, let's see. All right, good afternoon, everybody. See people jumping on. Good afternoon, Tom. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Wisdom Club Live. If you have not been on here in a little while, you'll notice that I changed the name of the show. Used to be Live with Leo, and now it's Wisdom Club Live. And in case you guys are just joining, if you guys can hear me and see us and everything's good, can you just say good in the chat so that we know that the audio and videos are coming in good? So as I was explaining, we were just changing the title of our broadcast, our name of the show here, from Live with Leo to Wisdom Club. And the reason is I have a private Facebook group called the Wisdom Club, and I want to start just putting those broadcasts on there. A lot of you guys right now, you guys can see the stream from both my profile as well as on the Wisdom Club group. And so a lot of you probably not used to seeing me there, but we will start coming on there from now on. I'm still working out some kinks here with the video, but this looks good for today. And today I want to introduce you guys to and coming back to our show, first of all, right? And she's been super inspiring with the work that she's doing with coaching people on their health and wellness and diet and nutrition and things like that. And so I wanted to bring her back on, but I wanted to see if, first of all, for those who were not here last time, to give everybody a quick overview, of your background and history, so people know who you are and where you live, and personally a little bit, that kind of thing. And then we'll get down to the real cool stuff with the health and guts and all that stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah, let's dive in. So my name's Kristin Harris. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, an HTMA Expert, which stands for Hair Tissue Mineral Analysis. And most recently, I graduated as a functional diagnostic nutritionist. And basically, that's a group of individuals, health coaches, practitioners, even physicians that run functional lab testing on their clients to look for hidden stressors in the body or dysfunction. And I got into health and wellness because of my own health issues. I was diagnosed with alopecia in my late 20s, and I also was diagnosed with IBS, or leaky gut. And that was the catalyst for me asking why is this going on, wanting to know more, and rejecting conventional medicines and methods. And I just went down that rabbit hole and started learning as much as possible about health and wellness.
Cool. So it's been a bit of a journey, and so I think we talked a little bit about it last time, and it would be good to just go over it real quick again. So you had those issues, and you worked on them, and tell us a little bit about your discovery and kind of what you discovered.
Well, in my late 20s, I had a lot going on. I was working 3 jobs, wasn't taking care of myself, and I had a few stressors occur. And I started having gastrointestinal issues. I started becoming sensitive to the normal foods that I was eating in my daily routine. And I feel like my mental health also spiraled as well. So I was starting to have symptoms of depression, anxiety, skin issues. And, I went to my doctor and was diagnosed with androgenetic alopecia, or female pattern baldness. And then also I was diagnosed with just IBS in general. And, the solution was Rogaine for the rest of my life. And, hopefully that would work. That didn't sit right with me. I didn't want to do Rogaine treatments for the rest of my life. It was also suggested to take a depression medication. I didn't want to do that. So I consulted with some natural practitioners, specifically a kinesiologist who was trained in nutrition. And we did some muscle testing for food sensitivities, which I had basically the major ones. So gluten, soy, dairy, sugar. And we embarked on an elimination diet, which really helped to clear up a lot of my symptoms. The skin issues started to go away. The depression, anxiety started to lift. And I knew this was like an epiphany moment for me. This was an empowering moment, and I just wanted to learn more. So I decided to dive into nutrition school, to go back to school, learn nutrition, learn about the digestive system, learn how that impacts our health and how the gut is connected to all systems in the body, specifically the nervous system, in which it's connected to the brain. And so if we're having digestive issues, we can also be having mood issues, and so on and so forth. So it's been quite a long journey. I'm still learning, and I'm still getting certifications, learning as much as possible. But yeah, I'm here to talk about gut health and the importance of functional lab testing to get you to your health goals.
Great. So thanks for that introduction. I think it really gives people a lot of information about where you've been, and what kind of perspective that you came from. So regarding gut health, let's just kind of dive right in a little bit here. So some basic stuff, like in general, basics. What should people be watching out for? Just initially, just across the board for people, and then we can dig into a little bit more of stuff that could be more targeted to maybe certain symptoms and things like that, and what kinds of things that you should do. And I know that you're always advocating testing, right? So people know hey, what from the testing, from the data are we seeing is needed, because you can match that to what you're feeling, and then what you're changing, and then you can retest and kind of see if those things are going away. So I'm just guessing,
Right.
But you can kind of see how my mind is kind of working, and hey, so if I'm just starting from scratch, I know nothing, and but I may have some minor symptoms or more major symptoms, and how to kind of start those, and maybe you can go over some common stuff like a lot of people talk to you about, so that more people can have some more awareness of it. So I kind of let you navigate all of that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say typically for gut health, it starts with stress. That's usually the typical trigger for digestive issues, because what stress does is it blocks the digestive process in our body, because the body cannot focus on digestion when it's preparing for a threat of some sort. So when we're in the fight or flight response and we feel threatened, our body is actually just prioritizing all of our energy to fight that threat. So that slows down the digestive process, it blocks it, and that creates a lot of issues with digestion. So if you are stressing from your job, or from even food sensitivities as a stressor, emotional issues, relationship issues, all of that can impair our digestion. And let's take, for example, if you are stressed and you decide, you're going to take a work trip outside of the country, and all of a sudden you're drinking contaminated water. because your digestion is already impaired or weakened, that can open the door to a host of issues like parasites or bacterias, etc. Or even at home, let's say you forget to wash your vegetables or fruits, you don't wash them very well. Sometimes bacterias can be on those unclean fruits and vegetables, and we end up picking up these things throughout our daily routine. One, because our digestive system is already compromised due to stress in our life, and two, we have environmental issues that impact us on a daily basis or in our daily routines. And it doesn't have to come from food specifically, but I guess that also makes me think of pesticides, because pesticides are sprayed on our food, and this is something we're not typically associating with gut health. But we know from the research that glyphosate, also known as Roundup, is sprayed on conventional fruits and vegetables. This is a known carcinogen. It's also a known gut irritant. So that can start to irritate the gut as well. And with stress, environmental pathogens or environmental toxins, all of that starts to create issues for our stomach lining. And our stomach lining, it's basically the home of where we absorb our vitamins and minerals. And 90% of that absorption occurs in the small intestine. And so when we're eating our food and we're stressed and our digestion is slowed down and we're consuming chemicals from our food and or pathogens, all of a sudden our body has all these variables going on that it cannot prioritize digestion, and we cannot absorb those vital nutrients. And then what ends up happening later on down the road is what we know as leaky gut syndrome. This is also referred to IBS or IBD, irritable bowel disease. What ends up happening is the lining of our stomach, it has tight junctions, and those start, I guess I can sort of paint it this way. The tight junction should be like this in our stomach lining. This is what a healthy mucosal barrier would look like. And through stress, wear and tear, damage to the stomach lining, which can also occur from medications that we're taking or even over-the-counter prescriptions, or the classification known as NSAIDs, which is like Tylenol, ibuprofen. If we're constantly exposing our bodies to this sort of wear and tear, these junctions start to open up and create distance. And this allows for pathogens like bacteria, viruses, parasites, or even undigested food particles like protein particles to get through these tight junctions of our stomach lining, and that ends up in our bloodstream, creating an inflammatory response in the body. So, once we have that inflammation going on in our body, depending on our genetics, it can manifest into many different types of issues. Digestive issues, autoimmune diseases, food intolerances, etc.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So I always try to figure out what like the stomach lining and leaky gut. Everybody just throws around these things like I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
So like I'm glad like you brought it up, like you can kind of shed some light on it and tell people what it is. And so so the gut lining there, that's a really good description. It's like if you had an open wound and you had food got stuck in the open wound, then it gets infected, right? It's exactly kind of like the same thing. But if the lining is healthy, right, then food's not getting in there and getting stuck and things like that, and things are functioning properly, because if there's stuff that's passing through there without it being kind of like absorbed properly, and safely, then that's where you get inflammation, in it, and then you could get toxins into your bloodstream, because that's where bloodstream and your nutrients meet.
Right, exactly.
Am I right? Like
yeah, you basically have it. And so leaky gut is a term that's thrown around in the holistic world. You won't really hear that in conventional medicine. In conventional medicine, you're going to hear terms like IBS, IBD, or gastrointestinal issues. But leaky gut in the holistic world or alternative world, we are referring to the health of the stomach lining, which is also referred to as the mucosal barrier. And literally, it is these tight junctions that should be close together like this, that have villi at the top, or little type of hairs almost. And those hairs that sit on these junctions help to absorb the nutrients from our body. So our vitamins, our minerals. And again, if this is impaired in any sort of way, these junctions start to open up. And it can be numerous reasons. It can be due to pathogens. It can be due to exposure to pesticides, due to stress, food intolerances. And so these start to open up. And like you said, it's almost like a wound in the body. And unfortunately, those particles, whether it's pesticides or food particles that are not digested, start to get through those tight junctions, and that creates the inflammatory response in the body.
Yeah. So when that happens, okay, we know what's happening, like you just described it, right? And so when that happens, what kind of symptoms could you feel in the body? How will they know? How does somebody know that they have leaky gut? Like they can't see it, So what kind of things, so like, I think you mentioned a little bit, like you could have, when I hear irritable bowel syndrome, it could be like almost feels like a stomach flu or that kind of thing, or maybe having a lot of diarrhea or something like that. Can you go over a little bit, like how would somebody know if they could possibly have that? I know it's not like an exact thing because they're so complicated, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it starts to manifest as symptoms. So typically people are going to have symptoms of diarrhea or constipation, or they can have both. They might see undigested food particles in their stool. They might have mood issues. It could be so many things because symptoms can be very far removed from the root cause. So just because it has manifested in your gut and you're having leaky gut issues or digestive issues, it doesn't mean that's not related to like migraines, for example. But the best way, the most accurate way to know if you have leaky gut is to test and to utilize functional lab testing. So within my practice, we have specific tests like the GI map, and we also can measure urinary indican to see if there is signs of leaky gut or malabsorption of protein, malabsorption of fat, etc.
So then what you're suggesting then, the first step then is to get that test. And then there's a lot of indication in there. And when you guys interpret the test, you should be able to know, right?
So if you're having symptoms and you know it's not normal and you don't feel like yourself, yes, it is best to reach out to somebody who can run functional lab testing. So it can be a functional medicine practitioner, it could be a naturopath, an integrative medicine practitioner, or like myself, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And what I do with my clients is I drop ship the test to them, and it's typically a urine test or a stool test. And they do that at home within the comfort of their home. They send it off to the lab. The lab sends me the results, and I'm able to interpret those results. And I share that with my clients to let them know whether it looks like they have leaky gut going on or malabsorption of their vitamins and minerals, etc.
Okay, so then that would be a different test than like what you shared with me last time on the hair tests, right?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah. Well, although there is a marker that's great to measure stomach acid on the hair tissue mineral analysis test, that's a cobalt marker. Basically, cobalt sits between vitamin B12, and B12 gets absorbed in the small intestine. So if we see that cobalt is low or high, that is a sign or a clue that your hydrochloric acid is imbalanced. And so we can run further testing like a GI map to see why the stomach acid is not where it should be or at the proper pH level.
Okay, cool. So that's the first step. Like, let's do the testing and find out what's going on.
So first you have your symptoms, then you reach out to a professional that can run this testing, because To be honest, this testing you're not going to find with your conventional doctor. It's not typical. So you have to look for somebody who specializes in functional lab testing. And typically these labs are not covered by insurance. They're fairly new. You'll find them in private practices. And they're really wonderful tests they're definitely an investment, but they're a game changer. For me, with my own personal health and wellness journey, it wasn't until I ran these labs on myself that I got the whole picture of what was actually going on in my body. I had done random candida cleanses, random parasite cleanses, eliminated so many different foods, like the ultimate elimination diets I've done, and many supplements, etc. But it wasn't until I ran these functional lab tests that showed me what was actually going on in my body. Okay, my mucosal barrier is impaired. Okay, I'm not breaking down my protein. I have a bacterial infection going on. I'm not able to utilize my protein well because of that. My stomach acid is impaired. These tests were basically painted the picture of what was going on in my individual body. And this is what paints the picture for my clients as well. And it's data-driven information that people can identify with. It's like, okay, now I understand what's going on. I have H. pylori bacteria, or I have a parasite, or I have a virus going on, and that's why I feel fatigue. So yeah, these tests are quite special, quite unique, and it can really be the turning point for an individual's health journey.
So that's really important to know, and so thank you for that. So these, like the tests, when you get a physical, they always ask you like, okay, go get a blood test, and they do test, all those things, and so that is not the same, I understand, but they could also have some indication from that as well, right? Because that's what general practitioner doctors all do. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, well, how useful really is it? I mean, sure, the blood tests are important, for major issues, right? Like if there's like a super blood count or something like that, like, that kind of stuff, right? So why don't regular doctors do these?
Because it's not taught in conventional medicine. These are really new forms of tests, and they're private companies. And as we know, a lot of the health and wellness is it's being pushed in a different direction. It's becoming more privatized. We have sort of a weaker health system in the United States. And not to say that you shouldn't be working with your general doctor. You should always be in communication with your general doctor. You should always be going to your annual checkups and doing your thyroid panels and your blood count panels, etc. But unfortunately, there is a weak point in our healthcare system where it's pharmaceutical driven. And so basically, if you have an issue going on and you get a diagnosis, you're usually prescribed a medication. And in the conventional world, doctors learn pharmaceuticals. So I think that technology has advanced so much beyond our conventional system that why not utilize this? It is obviously an investment and it's not typically covered by insurance, but we're pushing through these sort of conventions of society, and technology has driven it. So it's actually a very good thing. It's very positive. I do hope that one day the two can come together and the bridge could be, the holistic world could talk to the conventional world and they could work together. And I think that's what makes a good general doctor or a good practitioner, is when they can refer out when their client is still having issues or their patient's still having issues. Like, okay, maybe you should talk to a nutritionist, or maybe you can go see an acupuncturist, etc., if you need to reduce stress in your life. I think that's where the future's headed, and that's my hope.
Yeah, I think there's no such thing as holistic. Either you're healthy or you're not, right? It's becoming like not such like in the old days, somebody tell you holistic, you're like, oh, what's that? And I used to know, like, funny thing is, uh, like I think a long while back, and you're younger, so you might not remember, but like you didn't see so much ethnic food. Like people didn't know what it was. You know, like, oh, sushi. Oh my God, I've never had sushi. I never. What is that? How can we eat raw fish? So I think like as time evolved, like people know, like, you know, holistic is like a broad term, and there's all these, things that, involved in it. And so that's why we're trying to like just as best as we can talk more about the gut. But of course, the gut is like, from the way I was explained, it's your like second brain, because it's so complex, and so much of how you feel and what you might be thinking comes from what's going on in your gut, right? Because you're not feeling good, or certain chemistry is happening, it's producing um, certain hormones or whatever based on your food, or things that you're absorbing, then it changes how you think, right? And so I think it's really, really important. So definitely like detecting like issues, right? With what's happening in your body with these tests. So I think more people should know about these tests, because like we were talking about, like a regular blood test that you get with your physicals, they don't really work that way to detect those type of things. It's just kind of different. It's a different target. And like you said, which is really important, is if you're looking for problems to solve with pills, then that's a different track than if you're trying to fix things more holistically, like with what you're eating and what your lifestyle might be. I don't want to. I don't want to gloss over like what you said earlier about stress, because I think that's like really important. I think people don't understand that when you're stressed, um, your body shuts everything down in order for you to survive, and
Right.
that includes digestion. You could probably still eat when you're stressed, but your body's not going to want to digest, because that's how it survives. It needs to conserve energy, and it can't be multitasking while you got danger happening.
Mhm.
So what I was thinking about when you said that was like, you have to think about how important it is for people to be relaxed when you eat.
Yes.
Like, you have to be like, not be stressed while you're trying to eat. Like you're rushing into your lunch and out of meetings, and you're trying to like, you know, uh, talk or being productive or whatever it is while you're eating does not help your digestion. It's actually really, really hard, and hard on it. And it's a difference between having good nutrition into your body and like your body shutting down and that food just sitting there and not really digesting properly. And then food will change, right, in your body if it's not taking in the process properly. So I think that goes a long way too. I think that's a way to maintain your gut health, is to be sure you're eating. And the other thing is that I learned, and you can let me know what you think too, is that you have your circadian rhythm, right? And so if you eat after sunsets, your stomach starts to shut down. So if you eat like at night, then you're not digesting properly, because your digestive system is not going to function while it's preparing yourself for rest. And so do you agree with that? Like eating before?
I want to interrupt. I want to actually rewind to something that we
Yeah,
talked about
yeah,
earlier.
please do.
I don't want to bash on conventional medicine because it can be life-saving. And I don't want to bash on anyone who decides to take a prescription for their gut health or digestive problems or mood, because I do think it is really important, that whatever you're dealing with, that you're able to function and you're able to get out of bed in the morning, you're able to go to your job, you're able to take care of your family, etc. So I don't want to bash on that, and I don't want that message to be
Sure.
miscued or anything like that. But if you want to know the reason why it's happening, or if you feel there's an underlying reason that your digestion is off or impaired, it can be really helpful to seek out somebody who can run functional labs. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
And in terms of digestion and rest and de-stressing, yes, absolutely. They go hand in hand. We know one of the best discoveries of the 20th century is the connection between the brain and the gut, and they work together through the central nervous system. So if we're stressed because of work or relationships or whatever's thrown at us, like this quarantine and COVID, etc., that message from our brain of stress gets communicated through the central nervous system through the nervous system to the digestive system. So again, that is a signal of stress, and that's why you can't digest at that point. But let's say you're eating foods that you're intolerant to or contain pesticides, and you're consuming those, and that's a stressor on your gut. Well, that message of stress in your digestive system gets communicated through the central nervous system to your brain. So that can create mood issues as well. So they go hand in hand. It's a two-way highway. And in terms of, how we should eat through the day, we should ideally be waking up, and within the first hour of rising, we should be having breakfast, because that helps to balance our blood sugar and that helps to reduce the cortisol response in the morning. So if we skip breakfast, that actually increases our cortisol, or our stress hormone, and that can throw off our blood sugar for the entire day. So we can have mood issues, we could have digestion issues because of, again, that stress signal or that high cortisol is impairing digestion because we're in that fight or flight response again. So it is important, if you can, within the first hour of rising, to have a protein-rich meal. Ideally, you want to have all three macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. You want those to be clean sources, so pesticide-free if you can. And you want to sit down and rest and digest. So we don't want to be eating on the run or eating in our car, because that we would be in the sympathetic or fight or flight response. Instead, we want to be sitting, breathing, inhale, exhale, and digesting our food while we're in the parasympathetic, so that our body can actually utilize the vitamins and minerals. And getting back to meal frequency, or how we're supposed to have our meals throughout the day, we want to be having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have to be having three main meals. They have to contain protein, fat, carbohydrates in order to balance our blood sugar and to have enough energy throughout the day. So there's a lot of fad diets out there, like keto or low carb, etc. Those can be very damaging to the body and problematic for many reasons, but specifically because they're consuming only one or two food groups, and they're missing a whole nother food group. So this could turn into thyroid issues, this can turn into low energy, this can turn into blood sugar imbalance. So it is important, if you are on the fad diet train, to work with a professional, work with a registered dietitian, work with a nutritionist that can help you prepare your meals correctly, and you have all of the necessary macronutrients for overall health and wellness. Intermittent fasting is huge right now too. And I like to look at fasting in a different way, because fasting is basically just a way to allow the body rest from digestion. So instead of eating, there's a period of time that you're actually not eating. You're not eating anything except maybe just liquids, and allowing the digestive system to rest and repair itself. There's a lot of people that like to do this during the day, so they'll skip breakfast completely, and maybe they'll have, their first meal at 10 or 11 o'clock. Number one, they've imbalanced their blood sugar. Their cortisol is already high for the day, so they're sort of spiraling into mood issues. And so that's very, very problematic. What our body is designed to do is fast during the night. That's why we have light, and that's why we have darkness. And we have our circadian rhythm that is set for this as well. So when we expose our eyes to light first thing in the morning, that sets our cortisol rhythm for the day. And towards the evening, when it starts to get dark and the light goes away, our eyes are not exposed to it, and basically our melatonin starts to kick in. And this is our sleep hormone. This is what puts us to sleep. So light is really important too, that we're paying attention to that rhythm of our body. But in terms of our meals, we should be having breakfast within the first hour of rising, lunch, and then dinner. And then we do our fasting in the evening while we're sleeping, because sleep is the time for repair and regeneration of our cells. So yeah, if you're doing it the opposite way, or if you're let's say you skip even dinner and you eat too early in the evening, you can actually start to have blood sugar imbalance towards the end of your day or while you're sleeping, and that can lead to sleep issues. Or let's say you're having dinner and you skip protein. You only have carbohydrates and fat. Protein is needed for cellular regeneration and repair. It's also needed to help stabilize blood sugar. So if you skip that protein at dinner time, all of a sudden you might start waking up in the middle of the night at like 1, 2, or 3 o'clock and wonder why you're waking up. Well, it could be that you skip that protein and you don't have enough protein to stabilize your blood sugar through the evening. So there's a lot of variables that play into proper eating, meal frequency, circadian rhythm, and then stress is that component that we really have to work on in order to optimize our digestion.
So, I mean, there's so much in there. I want to be sure, like, we can put them in proper chunks, you know?
Sure, sure.
Really great.
I can summarize too.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I think, well, the intermittent fasting thing is interesting, right? So, and I think from your explanation, and I'm just thinking out loud because I think that other people out there might be kind of thinking the same, right? And so, like, oh, well, I intermittent fast because, I don't need to put it, I'm trying to reduce some calorie. At the same time, maybe my body does not need, that much food. And the intermittent fasting, like, it's like almost everybody I talk to.
Right, it's a big fad.
Yeah, like everybody now. So I'm interested, like, to dig that into a little bit more. Why? Like, why? Because you're actually one of the first people that were saying that, oh, to balance your intake of the different kinds of food throughout the day, so that you can keep a consistent blood sugar is one thing, and that feeds the energy. That's kind of what
Right.
the way you're looking at it, right? And so, do you based on that, then, do you see intermittent fasting to be okay to practice at a certain time at all, or like for like your kind of general outlook on it is perspective is no, just keep it consistent?
Intermittent fasting is a tool, and you should be working with a professional that is very well versed in intermittent fasting, but it is not something to utilize if you have blood sugar imbalance already. And I will say that 88% of the US population is metabolically challenged, meaning they're on the cusp of metabolic syndrome or type 2 diabetes, etc. So if you already have blood sugar instability, or you do a fasting glucose test and your blood sugar is high, I would not be messing around with intermittent fasting, because you're just going to spiral that issue even more, and you could end up with thyroid problems. You could end up pushing yourself closer to type 2 diabetes. So you want to work with a professional. And, that unfortunately, everybody thinks they're a professional when it comes to nutrition. They pick up a book on keto and all of a sudden they know everything about keto.
Not even that. I'll watch a 2-minute YouTube and you're an expert.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I totally understand. That's kind of the culture we're living in, unfortunately. Like, nobody's an expert. They think they're expert, so like, oh, let me tell you.
Right.
Right? So
Exactly.
totally
And
understand. I think that's we just have to be careful about that, right?
yes, we have to be careful about it. One, because everybody has an opinion, and I really think it comes down to our genetics, to our ancestry. If you come from, let's say, Ecuador, which is primarily rainforest, and you don't have a lot of conventional farming, it's primarily fruits and vegetable or plant-based, you can probably get away from it or get away with it because that's your genetics, that's your culture, that's your upbringing, and you've come from that area for generations. But when it comes to North America, where we're a melting pot of different cultures and ethnicities, it gets really problematic when you say, I'm going to go plant-based or I'm going to be a vegan, because you have to look at those variables. And I think genetic testing does play a role in this. Talking to your grandparents, asking them what they ate. Because if we get too far from that or we get too extreme, we can start to have health imbalances. And, when we grab on to these fad diets, like I want to lose weight, so I'm going to restrict calories and I'm only going to have 2 meals a day. What ends up happening in that scenario, if you already have blood sugar imbalance, is that your body thinks it's starving. So it will actually hold on to calories and store calories because it thinks that it's going to not survive. And so I get a lot of clients that come in and say, oh, I've been doing this low carb, restrictive diet. I'm also doing intermittent fasting, but I'm not losing weight. I'm actually gaining weight. And I'm thinking, oh, we got to go back to nutrition 101. We've got to learn how to balance our blood sugar. We have to learn how to have the right macronutrients like protein, carbs, and fat. They all have purposes in the body. They all make up, those 3 categories make up the cells in our body, and they have critical roles. Like protein, again, balances blood sugar. Fat is essential for our hormones, and carbohydrate is essential for energy. And if you're missing one of those components, you end up having some sort of imbalance. And then calorie restriction, again, it can just lead to more imbalances like the blood sugar and then your body storing fat because it thinks it's starving.
So your answer then is just that, like you said, and just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just hearing so that I want to make sure I understand it, and if I understand,
Sure.
hopefully other people understand it out there as well, right? And so we have to have a baseline.
Yes.
If you don't have a baseline, you start trying this for a week, trying that for a month, trying this, and then next thing you know, like you don't know what your body's doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the point, like you're making, right? Like, hey.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they've tried different diets and they just start to lose grasp of just the basics of nutrition, which, I did myself in the beginning. Before I had gone to nutrition school, I had tried every fad diet under the sun, and I was just getting sicker and sicker. And it wasn't until I learned how to make a proper plate in my nutrition program, having fat, protein, and carbohydrates, having 3 meals a day, making sure I'm getting the adequate amount of protein based on my body weight, which is really important. And a lot of people miss that as well. They don't know how to make that calculation. That's when I started to feel balanced. That's when things just started to, like, my energy came back. I felt good. I didn't have mood issues. I didn't have the hangry issue going on.
Yeah, but hold on a second. How is anybody gonna know any of that stuff? Like, right? And I know, like, your recommendation, right? Your recommendation, like, hey, see a nutritionist, see a dietitian that they can like put together a plan for you. I totally understand that, but I don't know how many people out there are gonna do that, right? Exactly. And so, but like, you don't, like, I'm just kind of questioning out loud here, like, well, like, don't our bodies know, like, if we're hungry or if, like, we're craving something or something like that? Like, technically, shouldn't we kind of like feel like what we know to a degree? Because that's what everybody's doing anyways. And I know there's a lot of problems. It's not is not really working out.
No, that's a good point, because
Yeah.
that's using your intuition, that's getting in tune with your body. And I think a lot of people sort of skip those signals of, like, even hungry, for example. You might feel hungry and go, you know what, I'm too busy. I have so many things to do right now. I'm just going to skip this meal and keep going. And then it's like a domino effect for, throughout the day, things just really get out of control. And that can start to take a toll on your work and your personal life. So I think having a schedule or a routine can be really empowering. So making sure that you're mindful, whether you're meal prepping and ensuring that you have a proper lunch and you have a proper dinner allocated. I know people get busy. I know it's easy to go to fast food restaurants, but meal prepping can be really a good tool to use, getting in tune with your body, respecting those signals that it's sending you. So if you feel that hangry episode coming, it's for a reason. Your body's telling you your blood sugar is imbalanced. You need to get proper nutrition to fill your body and provide it energy. And also slowing down. Earlier we talked about just sitting down and breathing and having a meal at a table instead of standing or eating in your car. Just slowing down can be a game changer for improving your digestion and improving your energy throughout the day.
How did you do it? How did you figure out how much protein you need, how much carb you need, how much fiber or whatever you need? So like, I want to give people like more practical things that they can actually think about and move toward that. Maybe they're not going to go out and hire this and do this test, but maybe something practical, like at least they can take away from this to maybe to help them start the journey down that way. Because I know like you're a really good example. Like, hey, I know how much, I know how balanced I can be. I know what meals, I need to have every day. And I think so many people are so different. I'll just speak for myself. Like, well, I work at a desk, I do my appointments, I have my meetings and stuff like that. And real quick, I have to share this because as a gift to myself this month, I bought an Oura ring. You know what an Oura ring is?
Oh, I've seen those. I don't really know what they do. I'm sure.
So it's like a Fitbit.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's a Fitbit that goes on your finger as opposed on your wrist. Okay, basically. And it does a little bit more than the regular Fitbit because it's measuring your sleep, it's measuring your heart rate variability, it's measuring quite a few things. Of course, it's measuring also your activity and stuff like that, and it combines all those data and give you some summary of your activity instead of how many calories burned, and then it gives you a graph like over time, right? Like. What happened this week or yesterday or things like that. So it's really good. It's one of the best recommended, devices that I've seen rather than a Fitbit, because I think the original Fitbit was just like counting your steps and your calories and stuff like that. So this combines a lot of different variables because it's on your finger, it can sense your heart rate better than on your wrist, normally, and then you can keep it on like a jewelry, so it's easy to keep it on you. And when you sleep, you're not having this bulky thing on you. And so it's just an easier device to do. So it's really cool. But the reason I brought that up is because like I can see my activity is different. I won't say every day, but like I have my weekly activities, and then some days I burn more calories than other days. Some days I hike more than other days. On weekends, I'm more active. And so I can see like the burning of the calories fluctuates so much. And I don't know if you also experience this, then how do you figure out how much calorie intake, how much protein and stuff like you can do? So that's just trying to get a better, it's like, hey, if I'm just by myself, I don't have anything, I don't have any tools, I don't have any tests, like, okay, tell me at least something I can guide.
I'm going to keep it real simple. You don't need a ring for any of this. You don't need a Fitbit. You don't need technology. So basically, when it comes to water, we're 70% water. This is probably the number one thing that we can all be more conscious about, including myself. We want to consume at least 50% of our body weight in water, in ounces of water. So, if you're 120 pounds, that's 60 ounces of water per day. So half your body weight in ounces of water per day. if you can get that down, so many things can improve just from that, being properly hydrated. And make sure it's filtered water. Please don't drink tap water because it's full of chemicals. So
well, it's full of like heavy metals sometimes too, right? Like there's
uranium, chlorine, fluoride, all that stuff that we don't want. So get a good water filter. The second thing, protein. I mean, probably the number one thing that I see in my practice is protein deficiency, and also just not enough blood sugar balance throughout the day utilizing protein. So for that, you take your body weight, divide that in half. So let's say a person is 120 pounds, divide that in half, that's 60. So you're going to need at least 60 grams of protein per day. Now divide that by 3 into 3 main meals. If we do the math, 20, 40, 60. So 20 grams of protein per main meal. Now, most people are not getting that. They're eating a bowl of cereal for breakfast, which has no protein, or they're having a croissant or a pastry with their coffee that contains no protein. And so first thing in the morning, they've already imbalanced their blood sugar, and this spirals throughout the day into symptoms and issues. So making sure that you have that proper protein at each main meal is vital for blood sugar, for sleep, for mood, for weight loss, etc. And then fat, it does depend on the individual and your weight, but I like to start with a smaller amount of fat, like 1 to 2 teaspoons. You can always work up if you need more for satiation and hunger, but 1 to 2 teaspoons is sufficient for hormone support. And essentially what the role of fat in the diet is to help support our hormones, our cell membranes, our skin, hair, and nails, etc.
So when you say fats, we're talking about like olive oil and or like, you know.
I could do a whole episode on that. Yeah, so extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, ghee. What are some other good ones? Avocado oil is a really nice one to utilize. And you want to stay away from the vegetable oil. So any of the processed man-made oils like canola or cottonseed oil, soybean oil, anything labeled vegetable oil is man-made and processed. You want to stay away from those.
So is like nuts and stuff like that would be considered oil or protein? Can you like what?
Yeah, so that's, in fact, nuts contain protein and fat, so those are great to use for snacks, especially if you do have blood sugar instability, which most of us do. I had it as well. I still have it, actually. So it's really important for me to have 3 main meals, and I like to have 2 snacks as well, and I'll have a nut butter or some nuts and seeds with a piece of fruit for a snack in between my meals. So you don't want to be around me if I'm hangry. Let's just put it that way.
I'm the same way. So we're both hungry. It'll be like, be a big problem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, that's great. I love that. I think that gives like the baseline. I know about the water thing, but I didn't really think about the protein thing as much. So that's really cool. So, yeah, that's awesome. And then, of course, then you can, graduate and do more, balance out your fat.
Yeah, and it varies on the individual and the background. That's why it's good to work with a nutritionist. If you have had issues with anemia in the past, or let's say you did cancer treatments and your digestion's impaired, you might actually need to increase your protein because you're not utilizing enough through the digestive process, or you might have to utilize specific types of protein that are easier to break down. So that's why it is worth investing and working with a professional. It doesn't have to be me, but somebody that you trust and somebody that has a degree in nutrition and didn't just watch a YouTube video or listen from, a friend of a friend that they lost 20 pounds doing intermittent fasting. And so that's the reason why I'm going to try it. Like, unfortunately, I don't feel like that's, it can be very problematic if you.
Sure, but it goes a long way. Right? Like it goes a long way. Like even if you have some problems and stuff like that, your body knows, like if you just start to doing the proper thing, like enough hydration, like gives you, if you have problems and it'll try to slowly try to heal that. Of course, if you have really big problems, of course you have to see professional and get that stuff. But most of us don't have like huge problem. But if you just rebalance yourself, like you said, enough hydration, enough protein, enough oils and fats, then at least that gives you a starting baseline, and then you can deal with the problems more targeted if you need to.
Right.
Kind of thing. I think that would be kind of a generally a good way to go about it if you're don't have any severe problems. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one of these.
I'm not a doctor either, but I'm
So these are
trained in
just,
nutrition, so I can help
these
you
are just
with
good.
plate.
Yeah, we're just like having a conversation and have good some tips and guidelines that people can think about, because I think you guys can do whatever you want, but having a conversation or like thinking about it, talking through it, then you start to explore like, oh, what should I do? Because part of the problem is that like in the older generation, like nobody talks about this stuff, right? You just like so now we have all these technology, we have all this communication, like, and just talking about it goes a long way, and giving some basic suggestions, not medical ones or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, like really helpful. So go see a professional if you can, but that drink water. Like, you're not going to sue me for that.
I want to give you one more tidbit. Like, a lot of people don't know how to make their plate or what their plate should look like.
Tell us about that. You were mentioning that.
I don't preach the USDA. I mean, that can be really problematic, but there's, again, we have to have the protein, we have to have the fat and the carbohydrates. So how do we make the plate? What I like to do, and I draw this for my clients, is you divide it in half, the plate. And one side you're going to divide in half again. So you have 1/4, 1/4. So the 1/4 on top, that's going to be your protein, because that's really important. And this is based, again, off of your body weight and, how much you need depending on whatever health issue you're going through. But typically we're looking at 4 to 6 ounces of your protein, ideally organic, grass-fed, or if you're plant-based. Some people choose that. I understand that. You would want to do a rice and bean combination, because that would be considered a complete protein. And then, the other 1/4 below that is your fat. We need fat to support our hormones and our metabolism. And you're looking at roughly 1 to 2 teaspoons, depending on your body weight, depending on your needs. But then on the other side of the plate, that entire 1/2 that's left, I say go crazy with vegetables. You can't overdo it with vegetables. And I mean colorful vegetables and variety, because that's where your antioxidants are. That's where your polyphenols are. Those are the disease fighters. That's where your fiber is, which is essential for a proper bowel movement, which many people don't have anymore. So if you have half your plate full of vegetables, and the other side you have your protein and your fat, all of a sudden you have those 3 macronutrients needed for every bodily system in the body, for energy, repair, regeneration, growth, and for disease prevention. So
when you say that other, like it's like a quarter of the plate, because one side is half, the other is 2/4, right? So that quarter with fats, like what would you typically put there?
So for healthy fats, so what I like to do if I'm doing, let's say I steam some chicken in water, or I steam a piece of fish, I'll take a teaspoon or 2 of extra virgin olive oil and I'll put it over that protein source, and that gives it flavor. Of course, you can put herbs. Herbs are also disease-fighting agents that most of us don't utilize. So you can put your herbs, your sea salt, black pepper, and then you're going to have that with all of your vegetables as well. So it doesn't have to be.
So that would be a typical oil that you're talking about. Fats is like olive oil, like that we use, and you just drizzle over the top, and then you're done with your oils.
Yeah, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, anything that's not processed. We don't want processed oils. Extra virgin olive oil is a low heat oil, so we don't want to heat it too high because it oxidizes, and that can create free radicals in the body. But if you are cooking your protein source in oil, you would want to use a high heat oil like coconut oil or avocado oil.
So but the simple thing is, like, you have your vegetables on there, your protein, you drizzle you use olive oil like as your dressing, whatever with a little.
Yeah, you could put some
almonds in
lemon
it.
juice on there, and
that'll take care of that. Is kind of what we're talking about, right?
right.
Awesome. So anything else you want to share regarding the gut? We covered a lot, but I want to make sure like you can get what people should hear about out.
Yeah, I'll just share my quote. So often nutritionists will say you are what you eat, but in the more advanced nutrition world, we have upgraded to you are what you absorb. So you're only as healthy as your digestive system. If your digestion is impaired due to stress or all the other variables we talked about, chances are you're not absorbing those vital nutrients that you need for disease prevention and energy. So It's important to look into digestion.
Absolutely. That's why we're here, right?
Yes.
So couple quick things. Tell people what you got going on and how people can reach you.
Yeah, so if you'd like to work with me, if you'd like to run functional lab tests to see if possibly leaky gut's going on, or if you have food sensitivities, you can find me at my website, which is just eatyourgreensout.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at eatyourgreensout. So you can shoot me an email, Kristin at eatyourgreensout.com, if you have questions or if you'd like to utilize any of those amazing lab tests that I mentioned.
Cool. So I think we have all that information in the post here, so you guys can check it out, click on it, and take a look. There's like really easy ways to start the process and just take some tests. You don't have to keep going. Just like, hey, you want to know, like a lot of people out there like, oh, I want to go get my DNA test or this and that. Well, why don't you just check out your chemistry in your body and have that test done to see how you're.
Ask your grandparents, because how they ate and how we eat is just completely different.
Plus, the food they ate was totally different than our manufactured food now and how we grow things. So, but it's always good to know. Definitely ask your parents, your grandparents, like, hey, and maybe they could tell you about your great grandparents what they ate.
Exactly.
Like a whole different story, adventure, and stuff like that. So, Kristin, thank you so much. This has been great and very informing, as a lot of technical things I think a lot of people don't know about, and then also some practical stuff. And so, again, it's not just what you eat, it's what you absorb. And so you can eat it. If you don't absorb it, like, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So very cool. Definitely check Kristin out. And that's all for us today. Thank you again for joining, everybody. We are here every Monday through Friday at 5. I'm trying to bring you a lot of really good guests. I've got some people booked up this week that I think you're going to really love. They have some interesting story and a lot to share about their lives. So tune back in. Thank you all. Comment in the post if you would. If you have any questions at all, please just go ahead and comment, because both of us are tagged on this, and we can definitely circle back and see if we can help. So do that. And that's all for today. Thank you. Have a great Monday night, and I will see you all soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.